Karen walks quietly, as skittish as a cat. She's breathing rapidly from a combination of exertion and emotion. She feels as if she's about to crack. She's been living in fear for too long. Karen thinks about that first time she came home from work and felt that things were not exactly as she left them. She noticed that the novel she'd been reading the night before was placed to the left of her bedside table lamp. She was sure she put it down on the right of the lamp, on the side nearest the bed, just before she'd gone to sleep. She wouldn't have placed it on the other side of the lamp. She stood there staring at it in disbelief. Anxiously, she scanned the rest of the room. At first glance, everything looked the way it should. But when she opened her underwear drawer, it was untidy, as if someone had rummaged through her panties and bras. She knew that someone had. She stood perfectly still, looking down at her drawer, holding her breath. She told herself it was impossible that someone had been in the house, going through her dresser. Perhaps she'd been rushed that morning, sloppy, but she knew she hadn't been. It had been just a regular day. She hadn't mentioned it to Tom. Then there was the day she came home not long afterward and went into the bedroom to change. She'd made the bed in the morning, as she always did. She always made the bed the way she learned to do when she was a young woman working as a chambermaid in a 5-star hotel. All tight corners and firm smoothness. She was taking off her earrings, saw the bed reflected in the dresser mirror, and froze. Then she spun around and stared. She could see faintly the impression of a body on top of the pale green bedspread, as if someone had laid down on top of the bed and then smoothed it out carelessly afterward. Gave her a fright. She knew she wasn't imagining it. Tom left for work every day before she tidied up and made the bed. She was so rattled that she called Tom at the office and asked him if he'd been home during the day. He hadn't. She told him she found a window open that she thought she'd closed before she left for work, but that she must have forgotten to close it. He didn't seem to give it another thought. After that, she started taking pictures in each room of the house on her cell phone before she left for work each day and comparing them to how she found things when she got home. She always left for work after Tom and got home before him. He had no cleaning lady, no pets, so if things weren't exactly as she left them. The last time had been just a few days before the accident. She could sense that someone had been in the house. She could feel it somehow. She went through the house with her cell phone in her hand, comparing the pictures on her phone with what she saw in the rooms in front of her. Everything was as it should be. Still, she felt certain someone had been there. She was starting to relax until she got to the office upstairs. She stared down at Tom's desk. She thumbed through the pictures on her phone till she got to that morning's picture of the office. Tom's open agenda wasn't in the same place on his blotter. It was about 6 inches higher on the blotter than before. She stared at the photo and then at the desk. There was no doubt about it. Someone had been here inside their house. Someone had been in their house, going through their things, lying on their bed. She never told Tom. And now she knows who it was. It had been him all along. He'd been in their house, coming and going at will, watching and waiting. The thought of it makes her ill. But now he's dead. The hideous pictures of the corpse invade her mind, and she tries to push them out again. That time with the glass on the counter, she must have been mistaken. Her raw nerves had made her panic. The glass must have been there before, and she'd just forgotten. probably because of the concussion. Her fears now are all centered on that damn detective. Her heart thuds in her chest and she walks faster toward home. She enters the house anxious to get inside. She closes the door firmly behind her and locks it. She turns around and sees Tom watching her intently from the living room. He's standing by the fireplace holding a whiskey in his right hand. "Can you pour me one of those?" she says. She's done with the pain meds and she needs a drink. "Sure." She follows him to the kitchen. As he reaches up in the cupboard for the bottle, she watches him. She wishes they could get past this mistrust, this tension. She wonders if that will ever be possible now. He turns and hands her a short glass with a shot of whiskey, neat. "Thanks," she says. She takes a sip and immediately feels the liquor burn down her throat, steadying her a little. "Where have you been?" Tom asks. He's trying so hard to keep any hint of confrontation out of his voice now that he doesn't sound natural at all. Gone is the light-hearted, unthinkingly happy man she married. The man with the quick laugh, the spontaneous hugs and kisses. She's changed him. "I went for a walk," she says, her voice neutral. He nods, as if it's perfectly natural for her to go a walk alone after dark without him. It's like we're perfect strangers, Karen thinks, taking another sip of whiskey. "Bridget dropped by," Tom says. He's leaning against the counter facing her. Karen's heart tightens. "She did? What did she say?" "Did she overhear anything?" Karen asks. "She must have," Tom says irritably. "But you didn't ask?" "You can ask her tomorrow," Tom says. "Better that you ask her anyway." She nods. She looks at her husband and her heart lurches as his eyes slide away. They both need to know what her mind has blocked out. "Tom," she says hesitantly, "do you want to drive me down there to where they found the body?" "What, now?" Tom says, caught off guard. "Why not?" She remembers how he goaded her, how he accused her of not doing anything to get her memory back. She's offering to do something about it now. If he only knew how desperate she was to know what happened that night. Maybe it will help me remember. She knows the address. She clipped it out of the newspaper. "All right," Tom says, putting down his drink. He packs up his keys on his way out the door, and she follows him.